tell about a heaven in Alberta where they've got all hell for basements. Yeah, I lost my way, but I can't tell about a heaven in Alberta where they've got all hell for basements.
All right. Hey, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello. How's it going, eh? Welcome back. And thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live show, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 95. Dude, where's my train? Yeah, we'll get into that. We shall get into that. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me here on this chilly-ish Sunday for the live show. As mentioned, episode 95 already. Wow, I can't believe it. Anyway, Sunday, December the 8th already. Sunday, December 8th, 2024. Just past 5 p.m. local time, mountain time. And as per usual, coming at you live from the foothills of the great Canadian Rocky Mountains, as I tongue twist my own self, southwestern Alberta, right here in Calgary, up in Canada land, eh? So welcome there, buddy. Chilly-ish, as mentioned, 0 Celsius, right on the nose. Boop, right there, 0. Whatever that is, Fahrenheit, 32? Something like that. When stuff freezes. So, a couple of days ago, it was mild, rather mild. We had a Chinook wind blow in. So the 1.5 feet of snow that we got the previous week, starting to melt. Lost about half of that snow. Terrific. Blue skies, because the winds push all the clouds away. So sun shining, blue skies, temperature above 0 Celsius, like 8-ish, 7, 8-ish. Mid to high 40s Fahrenheit, right? Not bad for winter. Well, technically it's not winter yet, but it's Canada, man. We get winter in October, bud. So, eh? Anyway. So now that, the snow has started to melt and everything's covered in, water, puddles and wet streets everywhere. Yeah, now it's starting to freeze. Terrific. That's great. I love that. Yeah, that's not treacherous at all. It's wacky out there, people. If you live anywhere where you experience this kind of phenomenon, which I understand is quite rare, be careful walking around. You got to have those little spiky things on the bottom of your shoes so you can get at the mountain climbing store or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it as always. As mentioned, the Sunday show, the live show here, and we're just going to have a little bit of fun. So thanks for winding down your weekend on this Sunday fun day. We're gonna look at some old abandoned trains. Today's topic comes courtesy of friend of the channel, Terri Light. Old abandoned and forgotten trains / railways. Not just, hey, somebody parked a train there and we forgot. Or we lost the key. We lost the keys to that old chugga locomotive. No. Like railways that became disused and abandoned, and people just kind of forgot about it for a long time until they were randomly found again. Anyway, that's what we're going to be looking at, because Guy loves trains. So again, thanks for winding down your weekend here on this Sunday Fun Day. Most appreciate it. Now, before I get ahead of myself and like too much cat out of the bag here, let's say hello in the chat, in the box. Let me know how you're doing. Speaking of which, who we got? Who's here? Lost and Found History Rewritten. That's who. This looks like a good one. It'll be fun to see what you found on this topic. I found some stuff. Terry did some of the heavy lifting. I just kind of grabbed it. It was like the baton race in the track and field, right? You pass the baton, and then the other guy grabs it and it starts running with the baton. That was some very awkward-looking hand gestures. Please ignore that. Anyways, speaking of awkward hand gestures, Kathy's here. Hello, Kathy. I don't know what that means, but hello, my friend. Good to see you. Hippie Shake in the box. Howdy, Hippie. Good to see you as always. Oh, look at who we have here. Terri Light in the box. There you go. This is thank you, Terry. This was very interesting. Bernie's here. Crypto alchemist. My neighbor, eh? He's also here in Calgary, eh? He's a fellow Tartarian Calgarian? Calgarian? I don't know. Anyway. Howdy, Bernie. Old World Meat Mock in the box. Quaynita. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining, eh? Vaughn's here. Dude, how is you? Is pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, how you doing there? Working the crazy weirdo night shift or something past couple of days? That's not fun. Howdy, y'all. Well, howdy. Castle in the pasture. Thanks for shooting in. We say howdy up here in Calgary too, actually. Howdy's a big thing. Ain't that right, Vinny? Cousin Vinny's here. Vincent in the box. And it's more common than you think. Even people that aren't, quote unquote, dressed Western, like myself, like most Western I get is wearing blue jeans, right? I don't wear cowboy boots and the hat, cowboy hat, with spurs, and I get spurs that jingle jangle, and I've had. Sorry. Anyway, but people say howdy. I say howdy to people all the time. Howdy, how you doing? A lot of times you say howdy back, especially if they're of a certain age, a little long in the tooth, shall we say? Much like myself, much like this guy, Anyway, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it, everybody. So we're going to look at, as mentioned, Terry sent me this. She sent me a link to a video here on the HooTubes. So we're going to have a look at that. Plus links below for the Wikipedia. We love poking fun at the Wikipedia, don't we? I do anyway. So I don't know about you, but I find it hilarious. Like some of the stuff that's on the Wikipedia. You just read it and...
That doesn't make sense.
But anyway. So links below for all of the shenanigans we're going to have a look at here for the show, as well as, guys, email, BitChute, MeWe, my Google location map on the goggle machine there. The guy's PayPal, if you want to help him, get a manicure and buy donuts. I don't know, whatever you think Canadians do up here. Anyways, speaking of which, links below. Hello to everybody on the HooTubes and on the Bumble, broadcasting simultaneously. Link below for Bumble as well. If you haven't already, give a guy one of these. It just kind of helps to push me out into the thing, Every little bit helps as we make our way to 2,000 subscribers. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you very much. Really appreciate your support. And howdy to you. Terry says, I say howdy and darn tootin'. You darn tootin'. Castle and the Pastor says still say darn tootin' also. I don't think I recall. Yeah, that's right, Bernie. That's exactly right. I don't think I say you darn tootin'. I do say you betcha a lot, though. Oh, you betcha, bud. I don't know. Old World Mugmok says, never mind, dude, where's my train? Dude, where's Canada Post? Yeah, the big strike. So, God love you if you still get your bills in the mail the old-fashioned way, printed on paper. Start getting phone calls. What do you mean I haven't paid my power bill? What are you talking about? I haven't gotten a bill in 4.5 months or whatever. Can't pay something I ain't got. You play. I'm not quite old enough to play, a half-senile old man routine on them to buy yourself a little time. Anyway, thanks for joining me. As mentioned, links below for everything's, all the stuff. And how do you get to everybody in the chat? Thanks for joining me. Speaking of chat, apologies for yesterday with the New West Chill Chat with Old World Underworld. I thought I'd preset it as a premiere for 8:30 p.m. my time so that we could, chat in the box together while we're listening and watching. I like doing that. But a guy, when you know it, before he skips out the door for work, accidentally set it to 8:30 a.m. So it went live as a premiere and I wasn't even there. Amateur hour around here on the show, apparently. So sorry about that. So that's why you got it twice, because I actually did go and redo the thing for the 8:30 premiere so that we could have a chat. So some of you were like, hey, did I see this already? What kind of shenanigans are you trying to pull over here, Frankie? Huh? Anyway, so apologies for that, or as you would assume I would say, sorry about that, eh? So sorry about that, eh? A boot? I can't even say the boot to make fun of myself. Sorry about that, eh? There we go. Anyway. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. Set a premiere and nope, not even show up. Just phone it right in. Just phoning it in. Like Jeff Goldblum and every project he's ever been in the front of the camera for in the last 2 decades. Yeah, see, Vincent says, haha, I caught the last few minutes of the morning version. Yeah, see? Sheesh. Yeah, that's right, Vaughn. I'm so computer savvy. That's right. Nope, not at all. I'm still figuring out stuff on my new phone that I've had since June. So there you go. Anyway. Donkulous. What do you say we quit messing around and get on with this thing here now? The guy's been jammering on for a quarter of an hour already. So thanks for joining me. Here we go. Cool channel name is here. So now we can start the darn thing. Oh, absolutely. The Fly. Fly was a great movie. Brundle Fly. Fantastic. And a great performance. Not to say that, you know, he's a slouch. It's just he's more of a back in the day actor kind of a guy. Sherry Ives is here. Hello, hello, hello. Anyway, I think I bookmarked the video did I? Yeah, there it is. Sure I did. Of course. I bookmarked the video that was the link that Terry shared. She just emailed the guy. So yeah, if you got any show ideas or, you know, old photos or something like that, shoot a guy an email there, eh, bud? Or if you just want to say, hey, how's she going there, eh? Anyways, let me just, I bookmarked this. This is from a channel called Post 10. Now, it's a huge channel. Admittedly, I've never heard of this channel, at least not to my recollection. That's what a guy's trying to say. With that said, though, hey, credits where credits due there, eh? Got to give kudos to this Post 10 channel. Very interesting channel. Anyway, this was uploaded a couple of weeks ago. And it's the title of it is Drought Conditions Expose Abandoned Railway Trestle with Abandoned Locomotives and Equipment. So Terry, knowing old Frankie as she does, old trains and like potential old pre-reset trains, you know, so interesting in the sense that I love trains, plus it's, you know, stuff that we cover here, right? Let me just get normally I keep myself in there, eh? But I'm just gonna get myself out of the way there, eh? So I'm going to hit play, but I'm going to skip around a little bit because, you know, again, kudos to the guy. But it's his channel, and, you know, I don't want to get dinged or nothing. But you can see here, drought conditions expose abandoned railway trestle with abandoned locomotives and equipment. Very interesting channel. Kind of does a lot of exploring out in the woods, and he does things like... I don't know, take apart crazy beaver dams, and it's, you know, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, let me know in the chat, if you will, please, if you will. Sound like the American dream, dusty roads, if you will. Anyways, let me know in the chat, in the box, if you can hear the volume. Of course, there. Gotta make sure it's not mute.
There's the grader making the road smooth, getting all the potholes out of here. This road smells really earthy. Woke up, I've traveled 40. Want to take a hike. It's going to take a couple of hours to hike there. It'll probably take an hour just to hike out to the lake.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy says 5 by 5er. Here, all right, beauty.
Now, this time of year, most of the trees lost their leaves. What you're seeing now is called the tamarack. They get colorful much later than most trees. Tamaracks and aspens wait until the last moment to become colorful.
All right, let me. So you get the idea. He's going way out in the sticks. First, he's on a country road, a gravel country road, then a logging road. Then from the logging road, it's this hiking trail. All right, let me just get it to about here. Again, I'm going to be jumping around because we're not going to watch the whole video. She's 2 hours long.
Shape up until the 1960s, they were inside a garage parked. They were put away as if they were going to use them again, but they never did. In the 1960s, the park rangers decided to burn the building down with the train still inside it, and that's what led to them to start severely rusting. And they did it because the building was considered a hazard and they didn't want people to get hurt in it.
So they burn it down. Phil Henry's here. Hello, hello. Good to see you. So that's it. I skipped ahead, unfortunately, but he talks about it was basically abandoned. It was a logging railroad in Maine. He's in Maine, Northeast Maine, I believe. Anyways, it was a logging railroad, I think small gauge. And in the Great Depression, it was abandoned, and they figured they'd come back to it, and then they just never did, and it remained abandoned. And then in the 60s, the park rangers burnt down the building because they thought it would be unsafe, and they didn't want it to fall down on people. Oh, now we're getting a commercial. Damn you, HooTubes. Fortnite. That looks terrible. Now what are we? Michael Hill Jewelers. Terrific. Get it out. Anyway.
It keeps the rails at the right distance so the train doesn't fall between them. Now that it breaks off into 2 tracks, there's going to be a locomotive sitting on each of them in what used to be the old railroad garage
that they burnt down.
All right, everyone, and we're here.
Look at those trees growing between the rails. Look at these.
They seem a little bit more mossy than the last time I came, which is really nice to see. It's a little bit of graffiti up on the smokestack there.
The graffiti kind of pisses me off, but what are you going to do, right? A-hole's gonna A-hole, I guess. Anyway, look at these beauties. So apparently there was a building around these. They were in a shed, a garage, a railroad garage, apparently. And the park rangers decided, right in the middle of this wooded area, we're going to burn down this here building because it's unsafe. Never mind setting fire to an old building in the forest. That's totally safe. Sheesh. Jesse's here. Jesse Nick's in the box. Hello, hello. Thanks for shooting in there, eh? So yeah, look at these beauties.
But it's good to see they're in really good condition still. You can see the way it's rusting.
Yeah, it's not in that good condition, but being left in the elements since the 60s could have fared worse, I guess.
The fuel came from, because we got the big water tank here, but how about where did the fuel come out of? And I think off to the sides here might have been the smaller tanks for that. All right, I just climbed across. Years ago, I remember I ripped my pants coming through there. Here's down in the other train, completely rusted out. Pretty bad shape.
Oh, wow, Hippie. Hippie shaking the box. A very powerful storm, no rain, all very strong wind, 96-mile-an-hour winds. For a day and a half, lost half a fence. Oh, yikes. Well, I'm glad you're all right. That's powerful wind. Holy moly. That's tornado winds. Don't get tornadoes over there in the Wales, do you? Guess anything's possible. Glad you're all right, though. That's scary.
Oh, this one's still holding water. Look at that. They're rotten, but they're still there. big block of concrete. Something was mounted on that. Interesting to see. Some people walk pretty far
Yeah, I'm
down,
gonna skip
pretty
ahead a
grassy.
little more here. And I don't want to.
And here, this little elevated thing. I believe the temperature is probably warmer here than the forecast was saying.
Don't want to get dinged or anything by the hoot tubes, you know.
So this area is a bit muddy. They added a few more boardwalks, which is nice. Look at this. So this is what the whole thing looked like back in the day. Now this, you can tell, is not original underneath.
No, it's been
This was
rebuilt. Got some old machinery. The
I'm
old belt
looking up
drives,
here on
those
the
are cool.
smokestack.
I've seen belt drives like that at Heritage Park. Cousin Vinny and I went there a couple of times, and they have a couple of flywheel engines that drive axles with belts on them. You attach the belts to different machines to operate them. Actually, you just pull a lever and it engages a belt onto the axle. And boom, the machine just starts right up there, bud.
Looking for any evidence of where the roof line was. It may have been right there. Be right there. I can't just walk around that one.
Anyway, this guy's really hoofing her out there in the woods there, eh? Damn. You know, it's worth it for a guy to pay for the premium so you don't get the dang commercials. I guess. Just saying. I'm just too cheap. Chick-fil-A. Yeah, no. Go into a Chick-fil-A and you're just as likely to get a knuckle sandwich as you are a chicken sandwich.
I don't think we'd make it there by even dark.
This guy's sloshing through the...
That's really cool. See moose tracks on the beach.
Yeah, I
See
was
this
just
part
going
of
to say,
the
that's
lake,
moose country,
it's going to
man.
get more and more
You're in
narrow.
Maine and that swampy...
To get around the bad parts of the railroad.
Tundra,
yeah, see this?
Tundra muskeg
So
stuff.
many ins and outs. Something else we had to deal with. Evergreen trees. So they're not overgrown.
This guy's really
just
gone in deep.
So
This
overgrown.
thing's like right
Again,
in the
not
middle
the
of nowhere.
easiest place to walk. There's a lot of trees down, which makes travel slow. But take a look at this awesome railroad switch. Got some bullet holes in it.
And you see how far I've skipped ahead. This guy's been hoofing her around here. Well, and he's edited the thing down, I'm sure, quite a bit. But it's over an hour this guy's been bushwhacking.
Looks like some slugs or something went right through it. Up here on the hill, we got the telegraph wires. Still got a good amount of daylight left, so I'm gonna hang around for a bit. Let's go show you guys the intact boxcar. That's cool. There's a flywheel over there.
Just crud thrown around everywhere.
Maybe at one point it even rolled a little bit. I don't know, because that's come really far off the tracks. How'd it get down there? Days, just coastline in the exit for, but something out in these woods that's really terrifying at night if you don't know what it is. There's
Bigfoot. Anyway, you get the idea. So link below for this vidya. Post 10 is the YouTube channel. Drought conditions expose abandoned railway trestle with abandoned locomotives and equipment. So that's up there in Maine. Yeah, Terry says it's the absolute middle of nowhere. Because again, he drove from city or town or wherever he lived to eventually to country roads, to gravel roads, to logging roads, to eventually, I can't drive no further. Now I got to get out and heel toe it through the woods. Well, first on a path, but eventually he was just following the old remnants of the railroad. Well, in some pathways, but he was out there. an hour and a half into a 2-hour video that the guy did some editing he was out there all day. So yeah. So Terri sent me that. So thank you, Terri. And with that also was the, what was it? The link for the name of that railroad, the Eagle Lake Tramway, which sounds very odd that it's called tramway and not railroad, first of all. But anyways, that's the name of this thing, the Eagle Lake Tramway. So I do have this article, and this Terri had shared as well. It was the link for the Wikipedia. So might as well give her a little looky-loo here and see what the Wikipedia has to say. Eagle Lake Tramway. To me, when I think tram, I think streetcar, trolley, a tram. But, well, Maine is a beauty. Maine is beautiful. Vermont, Maine. Well, for sure, buddy. Beautiful out there. Well, speaking of beautiful part of the world, Old World, Michigan. Right around them Great Lakes there, eh? Good to see you, my old friend. Mr. Beast fan in the box. Shooting in, thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Yeah, the Post 10 channel. Post 19? Yeah, Post 10. Whatever. You know what we mean. So anyways, the Eagle Lake Tramway is a historic timber transport mechanism in the remote North Maine woods, northeastern United States. The tramway, built in 1902 and operated until 1907. 5 years. Transported timber across a neck of land between Eagle Lake and Chamberlain Lake, with one end eventually becoming the eastern terminus of the Eagle Lake and West Branch Railroad. Ah, there we go. So it eventually became the railroad in 1927. The remnants of the tramway and rail station were listed on the National Register of Historic Places as the Tramway Historic District in 79, way back in 79. Huh. The tramway is part of the Allagash Wilderness Waterway, a Maine state park. It's a state park up there, buddy. Cool channel name says Vermont has the best corned beef hash, buddy. Vermont's got it. Oh, yeah. Anyway. The remote northern interior of Maine was in the 19th century developed as a major logging region because the provincial government of New Brunswick began charging tariffs for timber floated down the St. John River. Hey, you want to use our river, you're gonna have to bone up there, buddy. You're gonna have to make with some copper, some silver coinage, something. American logging interests sought ways to divert timber into the Penobscot River watershed. This was accomplished by the placement of dams in a number of places on Chamberlain Lake and Eagle Lake. Sounds like the cast of The Dark Crystal. Lord Chamberlain. Anyway. Whose waters historically reached St. John via the Allagash River, which resulted in their waters diversion towards Webster Lake, now in the far north of Baxter State Park, part of the Penobscot watershed. More baffling and confusing word salad here to explain all of this. That's giving me a headache. So anyway. So to speed the movement of timbers between the two lakes, the ingenious solution of a cable-drawn, steam-powered tramway was implemented. So basically the same principle as the cable cars in San Francisco. Yeah, that's right, Terry. Dams, eh? Uh-huh. Old world Mi'kmaq. Norumbega. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Seen that on old maps. So basically, like the, Rice-A-Roni, ding ding, little streetcar trolley. It's cable drawn and steam powered. Okay, hence the tramway, I guess. At a neck of land about 3 miles or 4.8 clicks north of the dam, a pair of tracks was laid across the neck, about 3,000 feet or 910 meters. And a continuous wire cable loop, 6,000 feet or 1,800 meters in length, was attached to the lumber carrying trucks. But not trucks as in trucks like lorries. These, like, basically just sets of wheels and axles with a mounting bracket, and you just drop stuff on them. So they'd be at either end of a stack of logs, and whoosh, off you go, off to the races. The tramway was powered by large steam boilers located at Chamberlain Lake, and it was capable of transporting logs at 250 feet or 76 meters per minute, averaging more than 500,000 board feet of lumber over a typical working day. I guess that's a lot. I don't know. They give you such goofy measurements. 250 feet per minute. Well, what is that in miles per hour? You know what I mean? Or something. 250 feet per minute. I guess that's pretty quick-ish. I don't know. Averaging more than 500,000 board feet. What's the difference between feet and board feet? All those surfers in the chat can let me know, I guess. Comment if you're a surfer. And you're like, for sure, bud. It's totally like when you hang 10. I don't know. Anyway, the tramway was rendered obsolete by the invention of the Lombard steam log hauler. It ceased operation in 2007. Prior to the tramway, oxen hauled wood between Eagle and Chamberlain Lakes. Then in 2007, the Eagle Lake end of the tramway was updated as the eastern terminus off Eagle Lake and West Branch Railroad. A freight-only operation for hauling timber southward, the railroad operated until 1933. So again, another roughly 5-6 years. They do the cable towing tram system thing for 5 years, and then that goes belly up, basically, or becomes obsolete. So then they do the train for 5 or so years, and then that becomes obsolete because of the Great Depression. The only major surviving element of its operation are 2 locomotives, which were vandal stripped and exposed to the elements. Of the tramway, the cable and elements of its track survive, collapsing into the ground as ties deteriorate, and elements of the steam power plant remain at Chamberlain Lake. There it is right there in sort of northeastern Maine. Like way up there, near city Greenville, Maine, which isn't even in the same county, so not really that close. So very interesting that just way out there, like, of course, it's not unheard of for major logging operations to have their own little railroad. It's usually the smaller gauge track with the smaller locomotives. These are the full size. Well, not the big, huge ones. But these are, basically a full size locomotive. But it does look like narrow gauge track, though. But it just seems funny that they had one entire system, just humming along with the cable thing. It's a 3,000-foot loop cable through the mountainous, heavily forested, secluded areas of northeast Maine. But anyway, that only goes for 5 or so years, and then, you know, it's like I said, just the obsolescence. So then they go through the bother of basically extending the railroad up to there, and that only lasts 5 or so years. Prior to that, it was ox. So what? Your ox died in 5 or so years, I guess, is the story. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for that, Terri Light. Very, very interesting. That's literally out in the sticks, out in the boonies, out in the boondocks. So, of course, that got to, you know, guys kind of got to thinking. And I thought to myself, what about up here in Canada land? Considering Northeast Maine is so close to Canada anyways, part of the whole dispute with why they started this thing in the first place was because they diverted the way they wanted to transport the lumber because of Canada throwing the tariffs at them. So they built a bunch of dams. That was the whole thing that kicked it off. First of all, is they built some dams way out there. Yeah, we'll just throw up some dams so that we can dam up these rivers here, so that we can traverse these rivers and send logs down them, and because the Canadians are being poopy heads. I guess. I don't know. But anyways, I thought, okay, aside from that Canadian tie-in, which is interesting in and of itself, I thought, I wonder if there's something similar up in Canada land. Lo and behold, yeah, there's a whole bunch. So I found a website here. This is trailsintime.org. I thought we'd have a look at this thing here real quick, just to have a quick peekaboo. Again, Trails in Time, a trail guide by Walter Volovchik, dedicated to the contemplative walker. Well, it's right up guy's alley. I walk and think all the time. 2 years after the completion of the Canadian Pacific Railway, in terms of coast to coast, transcontinental, company president William Van Horn faced another challenge with the discovery of the rich Silver King ore deposit near Nelson, British Columbia, that is. Americans were quick to invade the area. Damn them Yankees. The Columbia and Kootenay rivers provided easy north-south transportation corridors. American railways advanced north to secure ore concentrates for the Spokane smelters. Why, you better get Colonel Sam Steele of the Royal Canadian Northwest Mounted Police on out there now. With a few shrewd moves, Van Horn was able to counteract the American pressures by gradually building up CPR assets in this area. The very first asset was the Columbia and Kootenay Railway from Nelson to Sprouts. I'm going to say Sprout as in boat. To Sprouts Landing, which Van Horn referred to as the railroad from nowhere to nowhere. That's a terrible name. I mean, you're just basically begging for this thing to fail by calling it that. Why would you do that? Just from a pure marketing angle, just to try to drum up investors. Yeah, it's going to be a railroad from nowhere to nowhere. They'd be like, get out of my office, will you, Van Horn? Quit wasting my time. Anyway, this became the first segment of the Southern Transprovincial Railway.
I don't believe you.
Just saying. Morgan is here, everybody. Isabella Live 2.0. Hang 10 toes over the tip of the surfboard. Hang 10 toes. That's totally hang 10, eh? It's totally hang 10, bod. Ah. Anyways, the last spike on the CPR, Canadian Pacific Railroad, was driven at Craigellachie on November 6, 1885, as the echoes of the hammering died away in the solitude of Eagle Pass that misty morning. The country of the South remained still largely unexplored and undeveloped. Within a few years, however, all this was to change. All right. So you get a bunch of dudes going in there and building these little mini railroads and steamboat things in the lakes and so on and so forth in the Columbia Kootenay region, sort of central and southern British Columbia. I'm just kind of skipping ahead here. Pardon me for a moment. I'm trying to remember where it was now. There it is. Okay. So 1898. Okay, in 1900, they built a big tunnel, the Bulldog Tunnel, in 1900, where they replaced supposedly some switchbacks. Same year also saw. Take it easy. The same year also saw a significant expansion in Hill's Great Northern Railway network. He acquired controlling interest in Corbin's lines, thus gaining direct access to Rossland and Nelson. Corbin's a guy who owned some small local railways. Apparently all these guys were just, each little town had its own railway, almost. I find this suspicious. I think it's probably more like a lot of these were part of an old infrastructure. And many of it remained intact enough to be reclaimed. And I think at one point, not only were steam locomotive trains hauling cargo used on these lines, but I think there's still some truth to the name of the very first, the tramway, in that first article in Maine. I think these were interurban transportation systems that existed between towns and cities, and it was part of a greater network. And they're just trying to tell us, between the 1890s and early 1900s, all these little railroads sprouted up and joined onto the big main CP rail line, the transcontinental line. Even though, we're talking about two major watershed valley regions here. They talk about it and mention the term watershed several times. So, because here bridges had to be built, tunnels had to be made, switchbacks originally had to be engineered, and then later on they replaced that with tunneling, as the tunneling machinery and tech got more sophisticated, I guess. I don't know. They got more Chinese Canadians to carry the nitroglycerin in to blow the tunnels. I'm just saying, that's what they tell us. I don't know. Anyways, other things happening in 1898 to decrease dependence on the Columbia River, which created problems in the Narrows when the water was too low in the summer, or turned to ice in the winter. Yeah, Canadian mountains. What do you want? A deep line was constructed from Slocan City to South Slocan. Remember that name, Slocan. Unusual name, obviously, but via steamer service on Slocan Lake, which is too deep to freeze over. There you go. This line was connected to the Nakusp. Excuse my illiteracy. And Slocan Railway, which had been tapping the Sandon mines for several years in direct competition to Hill's Caslow and Slocan Railway. So there's that name, Caslow and Slocan Railway. And then in the same year, the Minto, which was to be a local influence for over half a century, was launched at Nakusp. Sheesh, I'm stumbling there on that. Don't know why. Anyway, so they had all this sophisticated infrastructure, going through these mountain passes in these tiny little towns from one town to the other. Oh, to transport coal, or to transport silver, or to transport lumber. I bet you that they also were passenger trains went on these lines too. As mentioned, if they're already part of a greater network or hub, I'm just proposing that it's older, and they tell us it's older than the 1890s and 1900. It seems like a lot of work to get into these secluded areas, basically because they're just passing through on their way to the silver mine or to the whatever, back and forth to the main railroad line across the country. Anyways, competition gradually withered away. The ill-conceived Bedlington and Nelson Railway proved to be draining business away from Nelson and Fort Shepherd line, so that too many railroads are competing with one another. So just to me, a very unusual, very strange, just how, again, these are the Canadian mountains, the Rocky Mountains and the Kootenay Mountains and in the Columbia River Valley. This is the rugged, like literally the rugged Wild West. Now I could see if you're building a transcontinental railroad and you're building one line, maybe two sets of track every once in a while. So trains coming the other way can give the right of way or whatever. Every couple of 100 miles, you have a watering station so you can load up water and so on and whatnot and so forth, right? I get it. Even that story is a little bit fishy to me, but okay, you want to tell me you built a railroad from coast to coast, starting in the west and in the east and meeting up in the Rocky Mountains. Okay, fine. Supposedly it was supposed to take 6 years, but they did it in 3 or whatever it was, something crazy like that. But then you want to tell me that, look at the icy, snowy conditions in these mountainous regions, heavily forested, because you're not quite above the tree line yet. You can see there's all kinds of pine trees here, evergreen trees, right? Douglas fir and pine and spruce. You got to traverse all kinds of rivers, which, as they say, rise and fall depending on drought or in the spring, because these come from mountain runoff. So the water's going to be super duper deep in the spring when all the snow and ice starts to melt. And they're just able to pop up all these multiple railroads through these kinds of areas. So much so that they started competing with one another and driving each other out of business or had to merge and whatnot. Every mine or every logging company, it seemed, had its own railroad or something. Anyway, so I made note of that Caslow and Slocan Railway because I wanted to look that up real quick on the Wikipedia. We'll do that, and then we'll take a quick mid-show break, and I'll give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage. But before we do that, let's quickly look at what Wikipedia is saying here about the Caslow and Slocan Railway. At least I can pronounce that kind of, sort of. Anyway, the K&S is a historic railway that operated in the West Kootenay region of southeastern British Columbia in Western Canada land. The K&S connected Caslow and Sandon, initially a narrow gauge railway. The line was later rebuilt to standard gauge. Okay. Proposal. In 1891, discovery of silver in the Slocan Range, it's a mountain range, created a mining boom. Of course it did. Because no matter how impassable it is, we're going to get there to get that silver, by gum. Anyways, you're darn tootin'. A railway to transport ore was crucial for commercial mining. In 1892, the province issued the charter to promoter John Hendry, not Henry, Hendry, for a standard gauge line, amended to 1 meter or 3 feet narrow gauge in 1894. It's a good thing he didn't start building in that 2 years when they just suddenly amended the thing on the guy. But anyway, planned was a western terminal at Cody with a spur to Sandon. The May 1893 stock market collapse and drop in the silver price depressed the economy, which delayed construction and prompted the narrow gauge decision. We got to slow down here, boys. Now we still need a train to go through there, but we don't need the big choo-choo. We'll just use the little toot-toot. This choice halved construction costs. One wonders why they wouldn't do that all the time then. Steamboat connections on Kootenay Lake were southward from Caslow to 5 Mile Point, east of Nelson, which linked with the Nelson and Fort Shepherd Railway. Okay, there you go. So in 1893, the Great Northern Railway agreed to fund the project. Foley Brothers and Guthrie were the contractors. Grading began in May of 95. So they just drug their feet for a couple of years. Porter Brothers were the subcontractors for the trestles, railway wharf at Caslow, and most of the track lane. .5 kilometers, or just shy of 30 miles. But it got a 10,000 acre land grant. So by November, wait, they started this thing when? May 1895. And by November of that same year, the first ore was carried. That's, what is that, 7 months? 7 months.
Oh, shit!
Anyway, moving along here. Next month, disputes with the NNS, a Canadian Pacific Railway subsidiary, led to violent confrontations. Yeah, back when railroad workers would get into brawls for some reason out in the middle of the mountains. Sheesh. Put the whiskey down and get back to work now, boys. Initially offering lower rates, the NNS and the KNS carried over 80% of Slocan ore. Yada, yada. Okay, so it's because of price wars, basically. So declining traffic led to mixed trains by 02. The final year to achieve an operating profit in 04, CP declined offer to buy the line. So they ceased in Cody, and by 08, mountain slides, landslides had rendered one of the bridges unsafe. And they ceased operations in 1911. But then in May, so January of 1911, but then in May, a local syndicate bought it for 25 grand and revived it, and then they switched it from narrow gauge to standard gauge. So I guess it did have some value after all. It's like, nah, this sucks. We're not going to use it anymore. Oh, wait. No, now let's go through all the bother of converting it from narrow gauge to standard gauge. Whew. Very, very weird. Oh, I thought that was very interesting. And real quick here before the break, this is a list that I found online. And this is where I was like, wait, what? What? Sunken locomotives in Canada. From time to time, we receive reports, stories, rumors about locomotives that had fallen into lakes, rivers, or swamps and have been left there. Like if I was a railroad tycoon, magnate, robber baron guy, Sir, one of our locomotives just fell in the St. Lawrence River. Leave it there. Who cares? Like, come on, these things are worth tens of thousands of dollars, even in back then money, whatever. You know what I mean? We will list these here by province, together with any corroborating evidence that we can obtain. Should be emphasized that many of these stories are just that, a story with no hard evidence to back it up. Well, then why did you put it on the list now? Are you trying to confuse a guy? British Columbia, Anderson Lake, Pacific. It hit a rock slide and fell into Anderson Lake, 1944. Seton Lake hit a rock slide, 1950, derailed and fell into the lake. Wow. There we go. Slocan Lake. There's that Slocan again. Canadian Pacific number 3512 fell off a barge in Slocan Lake on New Year's Eve, 1946. Okay. Manitoba. 1919, all the moguls were sold to the CN, becoming yada yada. Ill-fated MacArthur 22. It derailed into the mud of Armstrong Lake, Manitoba, from a failed trestle in 1915. Because recovery was anticipated, it was assigned to CN road number in 1919, but CN subsequently abandoned it as a submerged wreck. It's a steam locomotive completely submerged in mud? That's some deep-ass mud. New Brunswick. After it plunged into the St. John River, what happened to it after it fell in? That mystery has puzzled some residents of New Brunswick town since, a spectacular railway accident here in 1900. Locomotive 508 was pulling a combination freight and passenger train from Edmundston, New Brunswick, to Fredericton, New Brunswick, across the wide St. John River when the wooden trestle collapsed. Boom, there's a photo of it. It collapsed at Grand Falls. Most of the train plunged in the river. Passenger car was at the end of the line and it landed on rubble. The trestle for the freight cars had stayed above the water. Miraculously, no deaths. There are no photos or documents of its recovery. So the locomotive 508 was never found. Huh. And the list just goes on and on by province. Basically, if you're an American, our provinces are like your state, right? This is by state. There's been some states have had one, two, but everyone has had at least a couple. Some have had more. The list just goes on and on. Up in the Arctic, what? What's going on way up there with losing trains? Not to mention trains getting delivered and falling off of cargo ships. It's like okay, if a train falls off a bridge, you just look over the edge, buddy. There it is. You can see it. It's right there, bud. Right there. You want to go get it? Nah. What do you mean, nah? Nah. Just leave it to sink in the mud. Didn't that thing cost us like $12,000 last year? That's fine. It just doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, you might be hearing sirens in the background. That's just to welcome Terri Light back to the channel. It's like a celebratory sirens. Anyways, just very strange, very interesting. Not only are these railroads just popping up everywhere in the most far removed inaccessible places. But I guess not so inaccessible that other dudes can't build competing railways and, drive each other out of business. But I guess, but they're still doing so much business, they can afford to just lose these locomotives. Fell in the river. Well, we should fish it out. Nah. Fell in the mud. Should we get it? Bah. And this was before they were smashing trains into each other because they were moving to, the electric diesel trains, Not talking like the 1940s, 50s here. No. We're talking, some of these, the teens, 1900, 1903, whatever. Just leave it. Got that much money to burn, do you? It's because they didn't really own it, I think. Again, I think a lot of this stuff was discovered, rediscovered, way out there in the sticks. And, you fix it up. And just look what I built. So, I'm saying, wonder if the Pinkertons were about up here. Probably, maybe. I don't know. The Northwest Mounted Police were pretty tough dudes, pretty tough hombres that apparently you didn't mess around with too much. So, hard to say. Yeah, there you go, Terry. Sirens galore. Yeah, a lot of rock slides, right, Morgan? Isabella Live saying rock slide. Yeah, just you could basically up for every third story, especially through the mountains, obviously, but also through the Canadian Shield, in and around central Ontario, around the Great Lakes. Where there's all the nickel and copper mining and all of that. Apparently, trains are just really tippy. I don't know. Maybe it's because the ball Earth is spinning so fast that they get knocked off kilter. I'm kidding. I'm just messing around. I don't know. So what do you say we take a mid-show break? I'm going to give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek. Little vintage footage for you. Speaking of stuff falling on its keister and sliding down into the mud. How do you like the wokies in Hollywood are imploding all over themselves lately, right? And not just since the guy got voted in. Great, fantastic. Not just talking about since the election, but just, how, Disney Star Wars sucks. The last bazillion Hollywood movies have sucked. I mean, they've always been kind of, suspicious with their propaganda. Hollywood has, since the 20s or, talkies for sure, but, silent era too. But let's face it, most especially in the last couple of decades, right? They've just been, look, we got a message to tell you, and you're going to listen. If you don't like it, well, then you just go sit in a corner and eat shit sandwiches, you filthy window-licking dog brains, right? And we're like, whoa, man, we just want to see some good movies that have some cool characters. Oh, you're an istophobe because you don't like the strong, independent lady. Wait, what? No, Rey from Star Wars was just a crappy written character. I like Princess Leia. I like that other lady, Jen Erso, from that one half decent Disney Star Wars movie. But anyways, Hollywood is just, what is it? It's imploding. Burn Hollywood Burn. Is that the old tune? The old, that old ditty, that classic old ditty, Burn Hollywood Burn. So speaking of which, I've found some footage here of Hollywood from the 1930s. Hollywood and Los Angeles in general, but Hollywood from the 1930s in color, filmed in color, not AI, CGI, colorized garbage. No, filmed in glorious 1930s color film. So of course I put it to some Canadian music, eh? It's just over 3 minutes long. And then when we get back, we'll have a look at some photos of some of these, a little bit more of these hidden and forgotten and abandoned trains and railroads and whatnot. Anyways, Hollywood in Color, 1935. And we'll see you in about 3 in a bit. All right. Thanks, everyone. Stick around. Be right back. Cheers. All right. And we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 95. Dude, where's my trade? Sunday, December the 8th, 2024. Thank you very much for joining me here on this weekend wind down. Appreciate you winding yours down with me. It's my favorite day of the week, because sometimes a guy's got a week, it's just been a week. So I enjoy sitting down and chatting live with all of you here on for me anyways, my Sunday evening. If you haven't already, please give a guy one of these. Welcome to the show. Thanks for shooting in, joining a fella here. Say howdy in the box. And if you're watching this after the fact, thank you very much for all of your support. Really appreciate that, as per usual. Lost and Found History Rewritten is here. Vaughn's here as well. And Terri Light. Morgan from Isabella Live 2.0. Good to see all of you. Thanks for joining me. Kathy's here as well. So, yeah, I forgot to warn you to smoke them if you got them and put some ear goggles on, because that was a pretty good one. Canadian band Streetheart. Hollywood. Yeah, that was from 1935. Back when, Tinseltown was still kind of glamorous-ish. Kind of, but probably still pretty crappy. Anyways, thanks for joining me here at the top half of the show. We had a look at a little bit of a video from a YouTube channel. What was the name of that channel again? It slips the guy's mind. Post 10. That's it. Sorry, Post 10 guy. Anyways, Terry sent that my way. Some guy, was out hiking in the woods and found this the site of an old, forgotten, and formerly abandoned logging railroad. A couple of locomotives, remnants of a bunch of machines, remnants of the old trestle bridge. And that got me to thinking, what if there's stuff like that in Canada? Yeah, apparently we like tipping trains off of cliffs into rivers, or off of bridges into rivers and or lakes. That's our thing up here. And if the lake's got ice, even better, because then, it's too cold, just leave it to sink to the bottom there, bud. It's fine. Sheesh. Then we looked at the Caslow and Slocan Railway. They lost one on New Year's Eve. Yeah, just fell off a barge. They would take the train to the end of the train line and then onto a jetty or a pier, onto a barge, literally. And then they toot it across a river or up a lake or up a river to another pier or jetty or whatever, and then the train would roll off and off it'd go. And New Year's Eve, what was it, 1940, 48, 47? One just, whoops, fell off the barge there. Sorry about that, bud. Got a little bit too much into that good Canadian whiskey and beer to ring in the new year and do some celebratory libations, if you will. And we lost her. She went tipsy toodly whoopsie doo over the edge there. Wow. Anyway, links below for everything we've covered so far, as well as a guy's email if you want to send me a show idea, much like this show idea, Cape Terry. Don't hesitate there, Or if you got old photos or some cool video, boots on the ground stuff you want to run by a guy, or if you just want to say hello. BitChute, MeWe, and of course Bumble, which we are simultaneously broadcasting live on the HooTubes and the Bumble. So welcome, everybody. The New West Reset location map on the goggle machines down there too, as well as a fella's PayPal. So I can get more donuts. I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you sharing the link. As always, sharing all the links. Hippie. Thanks a lot there, eh? Anyway, what do you say we look at some photographs here? What'd you think of that vintage footage, by the way? That's coming up Wednesday. If you're new here, or as a quick reminder, every Wednesday, vintage footage video, old-timey film footage that a guy can edit and, you know, put it to some music. Friday, boots on the ground, and of course, back here every Sunday for the live show, eh? Yeah, let's look at the Eagle Lake Tramway Railroad. Tramway Railway? Tramway Railway. Railroad thing. Not a huge file, just a few. Just a few. So we can see what's what. There I am. Hello. So you can see here, yeah, they've been there a while. Apparently there was a structure around them that the park rangers purposely burnt down because it was unsafe. Luckily they didn't cause a bloody forest fire. Maybe were they trying to destroy these? Nah, they wouldn't think the fire would get hot enough to melt old-timey locomotives. You can see how it's the narrow gauge. Look at this. Looks like a steam shovel, maybe. Got another pulley here, and this looks perhaps a bucket. So it wasn't a crane. It was a shovel, maybe. Yeah, because this would be your digging arm here. This would pivot and swing down and dig. I wonder what you need that for. I mean, it's meant to go on the railroad tracks, so the track's already built. So what are you using this to excavate? But very interesting. All wood, except for your steel frame and chassis, but the rest just wood. Maybe you got a tin roof on it with maybe a stove, a coal burning stove inside to keep you warm. I don't know. But then there's that belt driven machine. Look at the giant gears on this thing. Just way out here, northeast Maine. Lost and Found History rewritten. When I grow up, I want to be a steam shovel. Yeah. These massive boilers here with this joint smokestack, I guess. These boilers would produce the steam that would power this. There's even a seat on it. What do you need to sit? Who's daring enough to sit a mere 1.5 feet away from this giant belt? Maybe it's not a seat. It looks like a seat. This is impressive. But getting it up here must have been, well, not exactly tiptoeing through the tulips. There's somebody's backpack for scale. So these things were pretty big. I guess you're throwing wood in there and lighting it on fire. And then it boils. I don't know. There's a boiler inside or a tank inside this, I guess, that you fill with water. How are you getting all the water up there? I mean, there's a lake here. So I guess you could pump the water up. But if you need the water to operate this machine, then how are you pumping the water up to get into these without like it's a chicken or egg thing? I'm not really sure how that whole thing works.
Show me all the blueprints.
But it's very interesting. But again, these things are pretty huge. Hell, for all I know, these are a couple of whiskey stills. I don't know. A couple of moonshine stills. There's that engine. It's got two pistons, looks like. Okay, so here's that cable tram. So you throw logs on it, and the wheels here just run. Sorry, this is kind of a crappy photo, but the wheels are here. The track is here. The cable's in the middle. It's attached here. And you put logs on it, and it just pulls them along. 3,000 foot long cable loop. There it is. These are some of the buildings that housed some of the machines and so on, supposedly. Looking very, wooden shack-ish, I guess. But that's kind of what you would expect to see in such a remote area. It's the giant machinery and the whole attitude of, oh, we can afford to just leave all of this equipment and all of these trains out here, and we'll come back and get them later, buddy. And then they just never do. They can afford to just leave it. Even if they go bankrupt, they're going to have to file for bankruptcy. Wouldn't they try to sell some of that stuff instead of leaving it just remaining abandoned out in the middle of nowhere? To recoup some of their losses. I don't know. Martin's here. Martin 11 in the box. Good to see you. Here's one of the little smaller locomotives, I guess, probably just to use around, the yard at one of the terminuses or something. Kind of a goofy looking thing. There we go. Now we're talking. This is just a nice photograph of how they are in present day. As you can see, you've seen better days there, buddy. It's just a beautiful photo. But here apparently is where they used to sit. So is the positioning, it looks to be, there's the first bell. There. Yeah, it looks to be about right. So apparently the park rangers burnt this down. Because it's not safe, you see. So what's the best way to get rid of a building that isn't safe? Light it on fire out in the middle of the woods. That's very safe. Kind of like, oh, my city is having a raging fire, a great fire, if you will. We better create some fire breaks to save the buildings from being destroyed. How do we do that, sir? Destroy some of the buildings. We have to destroy some of these buildings to save these buildings from being destroyed. It's kind of the same thing, just the same logic. This is unsafe, so we better remove it. How so, boss? By lighting it on fire in the middle of the secluded wooded area. Wiley's here, everybody. Good to see you. Howdy, howdy. Neighbor south of the border in Montana, Wiley. But look at some of the equipment they had. This is still that Eagle Lake tramway. Their rail yards and whatever. Those wooden buildings we saw in that other photo. Look at this crazy thing. This thing's awesome, man. Still all wood, though. Except for the parts that really matter, I guess. Wow, this thing looks crazy. Look at the size of the engine. Get out of the way, Pappy. Look at the size of the engine on this thing. I'm not even entirely sure what's going on here. They're obviously loading these box cars from the top, I guess. Not sure why. They clearly have doors on the side. And this is, again, it's one of those funny little ones. This is just used, around the yard or around the you know, the lumber yard, the rail yard, just to move boxcars in and out of position. But this gangplank here is, I guess, to get stuff up here, but why have such a cockamamie? I don't even know about this photo. I guess they're loading lumber? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's just Eagle Lake Tramway. Here's how they unload them, though. Yeah, we'll just tip her over, bud. Careful, that's how the Canadians lose all their trains. Don't tip it over, for Pete's sake. It's going to go right in the drink. And then what are you going to do? I suppose you'll really pull a Canadian and just leave it there. And then say, oh, well, we lost it, or we forgot it was there. But yeah, I guess they load the logs into the top. And then when they get to where they were going to float them down river, they just give it a little tipperoo. Careful, easy. Careful now, boys. Careful. And these doors are just giant flaps that open, and these come tumbling out of there, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't look very safe. I've seen this actually in action on video, not in person, but in video. Look what this train track's built on, by the way. Logs going this way, then that way, then this way, and then we'll put the track on. It's fine. Yeah, I know it's got to take a lot of pressure from the stupid tipperoo we're doing, but it'll be okay. Terrifying. I don't know. Sus, as old world exploration, my buddy Chris would say. His kids say that all the time. That's sus. Anyways, I got some photos of that Slocan Lake, British Columbia. You know, that train that fell into the water because it was being transported across the lake in a barge. And basically, it was forgotten for like 60 years. So then finally some divers went down there to say, is it even down there, bud? And it took a long time to find it. Anyways, you can find videos of that on the YouTubes as well. But I thought I'd share some of, well, pre-dumping it in the lake photos of the very, supposedly what we're told anyways, is the very locomotive itself, number 3512. Yeah, exactly. Sus, as the kids say. Yeah, you got it, Wiley. So let's see what I've got here. Again, not a very big file, just a kind of short but sweet. You know, I love me some old trains anyways. This is one of my favorite things ever, is just looking at it. I'm just like, wow. Awesome. You know, I grew up around these things, so like my soft spot for the old steam locomotives comes honestly. My great granddaddy worked for the railroad, as well as a couple of my great uncles. Then my granddaddy and a couple of my uncles, and I got a cousin who still works for the railway. So it's kind of a thing. So there you go. That's how it just looks safe as hell, eh? No problem, buddy. That we just going to put this train here on a boat with a couple of box cars, a caboose with all the guys in it. No problem, bud. You know, sticking on a bit of water here. No, it's fine. Once we balance her out, she'll be okay. No wonder these things were hitting the water more than Greg Louganis. This is the very one that went right in, by the way, 3512, if I failed to mention. Look at this shenanigans. Come on, man. Would you want to be this guy? No. I don't want to be him or any of the people in here. No. I'll be standing right over here, bud. I'll be watching from one of these buildings in the back or whatever these are. They look like buildings, but. And then give me a toot toot when you're good to go. Kathy says, my great grandfather was a conductor on the trains. There you go. Mine worked in the yards. They pretty much all worked in the yards. Loading and unloading. I think my great-granddaddy drove locomotive a little bit around the yards, but one of those little putt-putt ones, you know, not one of these big beauties. But this is nuts, man. Come on. Come on, man. Look at him there. It's 3512. There it is. Yeah, she's looking pretty good, eh? Oh, yeah, no problem, eh? There's only about 8 inches of water there, bud. She's fine. Just chug away. And Buddy's like, yeah, we got her. This is kind of the stuff, by the way, that these railroads were just popping up because of mining and lumber. So many of them popping up through the mountains and all of that, that they, you know, they were competing with one another and driving each other out of business. Yeah, because that's easy to do. That is easy to do. And this is that Slocum Railroad. Yeah, these are just popping up everywhere overnight. Give me a break. Even if it is narrow gauge. Vaughn says, I've seen safer roads in India. There you go. The heart of the railroad logging industry right there. These are tiny pictures, so if I blow them up too much, they get pretty pickleated, but you can see they had quite an outfit going here, quite a network, a syndicate, if you will, as they mentioned. Okay, all of this, by the way, well, no, not this one, but the previous file we looked at, with the one in Maine, all of that because they just didn't want to pay the duty or the tariff to use the river that was on the Canadian side. This guy's just hanging out by our train out here in the mountains. Look at this stuff. Come on, man. You would think abandoning these locomotives. Okay, if the tech changes, the tech changes. Whatever. I get it. So you repurpose or reuse the tech somehow. But even if you abandon these or scrap them or sell them to foreign countries that don't care if they still use steam power, whatever the case may be, you would at least think that even if you're upgrading your machines, you would maintain the track. But no, when they just abandon everything. So they built all of this infrastructure only to just leave it. Abandoning stuff like this, or stuff like this falls in the lake and they just leave it. That's seriously why I think they didn't truly legally own it. I think a lot of these, obviously the early generation tech of the trains was recovered, was rediscovered, and was repurposed. And then sure, you can come back later and add on to what you've unearthed in terms of existing transportation system. At least this is my theory. But initially, you're discovering these machines all over the realm. Inside tunnels, inside abandoned structures, what we're told are, train barns, whatever. Train parking garages. Garage. But if some of these are housed in what would be considered a fairly robust structure, or inside a tunnel, or underground in a subway, which the locomotives were, and the boxcars were, and the cargo boxcars, the passenger cars, the caboose, everything, every element. That's why you're finding some machines rusting out in the woods or rotting in the woods, but other machines are in like mint condition. But some of these are in working order because they survived being in, large brick and stone structures like the old-timey train barns. After the reset, they're basically dusted off, get working again, reverse engineer and fix up the other ones, part out subbed so that you can rebuild others. And you slowly reestablish the pre-existing, pre-reset transportation hub. But make like you're building it. You can take a few photos and a few videos of guys building the railroad. Sure. But they're really just dusting it off, for lack of a better term. I don't know. Just a theory, just a thought, eh? And eventually they can come in afterwards once they've figured out the tech, or re-engineered the tech so that it's used in I'm pretty sure they didn't use coal or wood fired boilers pre-reset. I think there was different ways that they used steam power, like to create the steam itself, to bring the water to a boil. Some other kind of more economical heat source. Because after a while it becomes self-defeating in the sense that you can only carry so much coal or wood. You can only go certain distances. If you want to go thousands and thousands of miles, you can't do it you can't carry enough of your own wood or coal to do that. You become too heavy. You become burned down with just the fuel that it takes to move it. I guess I would compare it to the hypothesis, if you will. If you will. See, again, I sound like Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Professional wrestler. If you will. The theory of, what is it, radium? The same that was used to heat homes, where we now just see fireplaces. And again, throw wood in it and set it on fire. How do you get that train to work? Throw wood in it and set it on fire. Everything's throw wood in it or coal and set it on fire. But that's something that I've heard as well. So, but I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. Let's see if I'm missing anything else here with this crazy shenanigans of, I would just got these trains. We go through all the trouble of putting them way out in the mountains or way out in the middle of nowhere, deep in the woods, only for it to go tits up, if you pardon the expression. So then we just abandon everything out there. The locomotive engines, the track. We're not even going to pull up the track. We're even going to just leave that giant cable out there even. We're not going to scrap nothing to try to recoup some of our losses. Nope. And then as mentioned up here in Canada, they accidentally just all seem to tip and fall into lakes and rivers off of bridges and barges. Whoopsie, butterfingers. Sorry about that, eh, buddy? Your trade's gone down in the drink there, eh? We should be able to fish it out. No, it's just a river. Oh, this is Canada, buddy. Our rivers are pretty big there, bud, and cold, eh? So, that river's like 400 feet deep there, bud. There ain't no way she's coming out of there. Anyway, yeah, links below. For the thing that kicked off this whole thing, Terry sent the link to that video, as well as the Wikipedia. Crazy stuff, man. I don't know. Maybe it's, again, no big surprise. I love the old trains, so maybe it's just I got a soft spot for the old train. So, well, if it was me, I wouldn't leave them out in the woods. I would never do such a thing. I don't know. I'm projecting my love of the old choo-choos, I guess, people. Anyway, so let me know what you think. What do you think of that? Do you think that these shrewd businessmen would just leave all that money tied up to just rust away in the woods or at the bottom of some river or lake? You think that's how they got to be tycoons? You think it was just because they didn't give a crap because they technically didn't even own it? You know, it was just stuff they found, or later was stuff that was reverse engineered from the stuff they found. They didn't own any of the patents on it. They didn't create it. They just copied it. Much like the crappy stuff coming out of Hollywood last few decades. Crappy copies. Anyway, before I go, let's leave things on a little bit of a high note. What do you say there, bud? A couple of funny little clips here. I think these a couple of these Kathy sent. Oh yeah, here we go. There's a couple here for the ladies. Yeah, here's one for the ladies in the box here. Shout out to the ladies. Here you go. This woman's pretty funny.
I must say I'm a little ticked off about this. I really am. It's not right at all. You had to stand in the way,
Psych, right? It's like
Miss Cheryl? Huh? I mean, I've seen him shirtless. That was enough, but you could have moved, and I don't think that's right. But anyway, that's just me. But yeah. Oh, well. I'm not a professional comedian. I don't play one on TV, but yeah, Miss Cheryl, I love you to death, but I really think this was wrong. You could have just moved over to the side. I can't catch a break today. My team loses. I can't see RFK Jr. naked. I'm done with this today.
She let her have it. She was not happy. Get your fat ponytailed head out of the way. Cheryl lady from that show with Larry David on it. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Was that the one? Hey, why don't you curb the enthusiasm of your big old head out the way so the lady can have a look at RFK Jr.'s Willie, I guess. That lady's funny though. Come on. What else we got here? Oh yeah, of course. Here we go. This is the Idiot Olympics here. Look out now. I should have mentioned not for the faint of heart. But I don't understand how are you not seeing it's a big steel gate there? Like a big steel gate. How do you not see and when you're cycling, you're kind of hunched over forward a little bit. So this thing should be right in your line of sight. You know what I mean? Like, short of painting it bright yellow or fucking orange, there's no way you should miss this. I don't care how early in the morning or late at night it is, how foggy or raining it is. Come on, man. It's a big steel gate. You hear it go clang. You know it's metal. How do you not? Anyway, let's. It's not for the faint of heart. So look out now. Oh. Oh man, here comes another one. On one of those. Oh. On one of those scooters. Fantastic. I hope it snapped that scooter in half. I just had to see it again. I'm sorry. Oh, that guy. He almost saw it. He almost saw it. Here comes that scooter. Whammo! Oh, I'd feel bad for yellow hoodie guy, though. You could hear him go, oh! But that scooter, I hope that scooter is completely and utterly destroyed. Down with those scooters. I do not understand. Yeah. Game over. Yeah, it's like watching a sports ball match or something. Oh yeah, you know that guy just put his ring cam. He's like he keeps hearing clanging noises in the night. And by the time he hops out of bed and pokes his dome out the window to see what in Sam Steele is going on outside, somebody trying to break into my shed, my tool shed, or whatever, right? I'll shoot his ass or whatever. He sees somebody just laying there going, oh, sucking wind, right? If that was me and something like that was happening, I would definitely, absolutely, positively put it up on a ring cam and put it on the interwebs and make money off of it. What do you think, funny lady? Let's hear from the funny lady again. Big glasses, funny lady. Where is she? Hello, funny lady. Where are you? Doesn't want to play it. That's very interesting. I wonder why. Let's try it one more time. Third time's a charm. Third time's a charm. Nope, not charming at all. I couldn't charm it. I had one more from that funny lady that was telling Cheryl to move her big old ponytail, bleach blonde wearing head. Sorry, I'm making it out like she was picking a fight with her. Them's fighting words, Frankie. What are you doing now? Why are you getting everybody all right? Why are you trying to get that sweet old lady, somebody's grandma, somebody's nana? Why are you trying to get into a fight with Cheryl from Curb Your Enthusiasm now? Why would you do that? So now I'm just distracted by why it won't play the other video from that funny lady. It played all the other videos. Let's try by doing it this way. You gonna do it that way? I think I can do it a different way. You can't defeat me with my limited and embarrassingly below average tech skills. You can't defeat me with not playing the video. I will find a way. I will find a way. Just let me know in the box if you can hear this. It says Vidal Sassoon jeans or Sassoon jeans or whatever. Yeah, Jordache jeans or whatever. That's when you know an older person just has zero. Oh, no sound. Oh, that's a bummer, man. That's a bummer. That's a bummer. Yeah, it was not letting me play it the way I normally share the video and play it. Let me try it again. No, it's saying your browser's having trouble sharing your video. It can happen if this file is invalid. It's not invalid. But yeah, that's basically gist of it. It's like Brooke Shields. Like, oh, I thought that was Caitlyn Jenner. It's very hard for me to say Caitlyn Jenner because back in my day, that it's, you know, their name was Bruce and he was on the cereal box because of the Olympics. So anyway, technical difficulties here on the show, which is maybe a sign that I just shut it down, Frankie. It's too much whirly-gigs for you to keep an eye on there in the studio, apparently. You bit off more than you could chew tonight. Quit while you're still not too far behind in the rearview mirror. So with that, I think that is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie. New West Reset, New West Reset Live, episode 95. Dude, where's my train? Thanks again to Terri Light for sharing the video from Post 10 about the old abandoned railroad up there in Maine, which led me to the Canadian versions of. Again, links below for all of that. Links below for my New West Reset location map, not relocation. That's a different map. It's on the Goggle Machine. Link for that below as well. BitChute, MeWe, email, PayPal, and of course the HooTubes and the Bumble. So thank you to everybody on both HooTubes and Bumble for joining me. Appreciate it. Again, if you're watching this after the fact, let me know what you think down below in the comments there. Do you think that you would just leave all that stuff out there? That's fine. Oh, it fell in the lake. Just leave it. Or if you were like a shrewd businessman, you'd be like, oh, maybe we should fish that out of there, bud. So again, Wednesday, vintage footage video. Friday, boots on the ground, and then we'll see you back here next week for the live one. So until then, thank you once again, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have yourselves a good one, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, everyone. Thank you, and cheers. Bye.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.